Hi everyone, it's Tammy at Frou-frou Studio. Welcome back for another episode of I Saw It on Pinterest. Um, it's Saturday. I hope everybody is having a good weekend and that you enjoyed Halloween yesterday if you celebrate. Um, we are in a very rural area, and so we don't have trick-or-treaters. Our nearest neighbors are a hayfield across from us, and they don't have any young children. And being out here with a bunch of farmland is just not um, a very safe place to trick-or-treat, and the houses are so spread apart that there's not a lot of walking from house to house for sure. But I hope that you guys, if you had children or grandchildren that went out trick or treating, I hope they had a great night. And we're going to get started on this little pin here. Today's pin is by Joe McQueen. Um, and again, it's one of those that I cannot trace the origins of, so I'm assuming that Joe made this. If not, I apologize to the actual maker, but I do appreciate Joe pinning this. I think it's a beautiful little make, and it's going to fit really well in my upcoming project for this month for Sweet Pea Curiosities. So first I'll show you the kit that I'm going to use for my project, and then I'll show you how I'm going to adapt this little tag into what I'm making. So the kit that I am using, I had originally said, okay, in November I'm going to do a Christmas project for Marissa. And then she came out with this kit, and I couldn't resist it. So I'm going to use this kit for the month of November. And, yeah. So it is called... I should have looked it up before I started. Hold on. Give me a second here to switch over to my Etsy, and I'll tell you what it's called. Um. Alright, here. I can't get to where I'm trying to get. It always takes me a minute because, oh, she emailed it to me. That's why I can't find it. Because I'm looking in the wrong place. It is called Wonder Herbararium. Wonder, W-A-N-D-E-R, Herbararium. And it is available on Etsy, in her Etsy shop. And if you're not familiar with Marissa, I would definitely go check out her digitals. They're beautiful, and she comes up with it seems like every one that she comes up with outdoes the one before. So be sure and check often. She does come out with new kits quite often. So this one has 10 pages, I think, of ephemera, and they're all based on flowers, of course, and in particular dried flowers. The colors are gorgeous. So you get 10 pages of those with the photos. And she has both children with the little dried flowers. Aren't they beautiful? And she does have women as well working in their dried flowers. And then there are 10 sheets that are this way, which I'm going to cut them down, I think, because I think for this I want a smaller, chunkier journal. So I'll be cutting these down, but they're gorgeous as well. And I just printed these one-sided for the ones that are portrait. I guess that's portrait. Always get those two mixed up, but I'm pretty sure that's portrait. But you can see they have all these gorgeous dried flowers. And then there are 10 sheets that are this way, or that, no, these are my duplicates. There's some pages that I printed twice. I didn't show 10 sheets because that was my twice. Because I'm going to make some pockets and things that I wanted to be able to fussy cut some of those flowers out of. So there's that one. And then she has 10 sheets that go landscape. She's got some, this color combination is my absolute favorite. The black with the kind of beigey color. And she has several of those. These I did print double-sided, so that I'd have some colors on the back, because these are going to be whole pages in the journal. Again, gorgeous. So yeah, we're going to do something kind of dried flowery looking with all these digitals, and then I have been doing some die cutting so that I don't have a lot of dried flowers. I have a few, but I don't have a lot, and so I pulled out my dies and cut some dies, and I also have some not real flowers that kind of resemble dried flowers. So I'm going to use some of those, I think, and also have these mini little roses here, and if I use something like that, it would be on the cover. Or I might cut them apart and use just the petals. We'll see. And then I have some stickers. Both those PVC, that don't sound right. PET stickers, and also some, oh, sorry about that, sneezing, and some washi stickers as well. And then I had a couple things in my stash that I thought might work. So I stuck those in there in case I wanted to use one of those. So that's the beginning of what I have that I want to use. But this is the most important piece. Marissa has written my story for me with this kit. And you get this in the kit. I've just already grunged it up and folded it and stuff. But it's a letter. And I made a wax seal and made it look like it had been busted. And I've just aged it up, inked it up. And it's August 21st, 1890, Rosewood Cottage. My dearest friend, this afternoon has been one of the loveliest I can recall, spent entirely amidst my little collection of dried blooms and foliage. As the soft sunlight fell through the lace curtains, I opened the pages of my herbarium and was greeted by gentle fragrance of pressed petals and the faint whisper of crinkled leaves. Each page feels like a memory carefully preserved in quiet conversation between the past and the present. The wild roses I gathered in early spring have faded to the palest blush, their delicate forms perfectly kept between parchment. The lavender still holds its sweet perfume as though the fields from which it came are only a breath away. I found a sprig of fern pressed last autumn. Its intricate fronds have dried to a warm bronze, every vein as crisp and clear as on the day I collected it. Arranging these treasures gives me such peace. I take great care in noting their names, dates, and the places where I found them, as though each were a dear acquaintance. The book grows heavier with every passing season, yet it carries not weight but stories of meadow walks, soft breezes, and quiet hours spent in the gentle company with nature. How I wish you could sit beside me and turn these pages. I imagine us admiring the delicate hues, tracing the outlines of the petals, and recalling together the fragrant gardens of our youth. Yours ever affectionately, Clara. Perfect. So Clara is who we're focused on in this particular journal. And her little book of pressed flowers and ferns and plants. And so, yeah, I went ahead and grunched up this letter and kind of addressed it. I'm calling the childhood friend Mary. And so, yeah, we're going to kind of follow Mary and Clara's little story here of collecting and drying flowers. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I look forward to making this journal very much so. So, for today, we're going to make the younger version of Mary. We're going to do Mary first, and then we'll do Clara. Both as a child and as an adult. So, this is what I'm going to do. And of course, you know, my tag is going to vary a little bit from the original pen. But, again, you know, I take the things that I like from the pens that I see. And I, you know, create from there. So, I do not have, oops, didn't mean to make it that big, anything that does this scallopy little thing. I don't have a die cut that does that. It looks to me like this is very much done on a die cut, and it looks like it's on, I keep hitting that, sorry, like one of those, cardstocks that have kind of like the linen look in the back. If you're looking for something similar, I think that's what it is. So for mine, I'm using this die cut. And it is a, I think it is a Ranger set that has these in, you know, various sizes, but this is the biggest one. And so I didn't feel like that base was substantial enough. You could use a smaller picture, but I felt like that if I used just this, it was going to get lost. And so I found this in my stash, and this is out of like a scrapbook ephemera kit. It's very slick, so we're going to have to do some work to ink it up and whatever. But I'm going to layer this behind. That gives it a little bit more bulk for a tag, but it also creates a little bit more width and height, and I think this fits better. So I'm going to do that, and I'll move this because I know that puts a funky light on the... It makes my light look a different color in here. And then I have some German text that we're going to put on there. And I have some German handwriting from my autograph book that we're going to put on there. And I think I'll put it like right here. And then I've taken this picture out of the kit and just kind of ripped around it to rip it down. So I'm going to put that on there for the picture. And then I just got some little scrappy lace bits. And I found a couple of pieces that look like flowers that I cut around. And so we're going to make that kind of go down here in the corner. Glue all that on. And then I have my eyelet for the top. And my sari silk for the tie. And then I'm going to take a piece of this and kind of tie it in. And this is a real dried plant. And it is actually from the 1920s because it was on this autograph page out of my German autograph book. So it has lasted this long, and it's, I don't know what they put on it to preserve it, but yeah, we're going to take a little nip. I hate to use it, but at some point, what are you going to do with it, right? So you might as well put it in a journal where it's going to fit well. So the first thing we're going to do is ink everything up, and then we'll start putting everything together because, like I said, this is very slick and it's also very clean, and we just can't have that, can we? So I'm going to try to kind of sand some of this little glossy off so it will take the ink better. And I'm hoping by doing that, and then if I go over it with like my tea dye, I don't want anything too dark, but I want it to look more aged than it does. I'm going to go around it with ground espresso around the edges to make the edges stand out, and then I'm going to kind of go over it, I think, all over with the tea dye. So let's do the edges first. And actually I'm using walnut stain, not, I think I said ground espresso. Yeah, see, that did a lot to make that soak in to the edges. It was cold here this morning, guys. We had frost. I don't like the cold, and it just seems like we're not getting much fall temperatures. We're going right into where it's like too cold. But it will warm up some. Okay, now let's take my little makeup brush and take tea dye. See if we can get just a little bit of color on there. Not a lot of it's going to show, so, but I just want to tone down that white just a little bit so it doesn't look so new. I mean, we are talking 1800s here, so things would have definitely got some age on them. Alright, so while that's drying, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to ink around the edges of this one. Now, I could have cut this out of a different color, probably, but I decided I wanted the option to be able to put my own color on there, so I'd have more control over where it was and wasn't and that kind of thing. So I'm going to do the same thing and go kind of over it with the tea dye. Sorry about the sneezing. Oops, over here, Tammy, it's over here. Not a lot of this background will show. Okay, now I'm going to put on my German script and leave just a little bit of that showing. And I'm not going to ink around the edges of this because I want it to kind of disappear into the background. I don't want it to be the focal point or anything like that. So we're going to not ink it. And anything that hangs over will trim off. So I'm excited about my journals this month because this one is going to be lots of fun. And then Susan, and I totally love it, announced the theme for Junk Journal Madness for this month. And it is the 1920s. One of my favorite decades. I like anything from the 20s to the 40s. It's my favorite. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. Alright, I'm going to put that about right there, I think. Trim it down just a little bit so there's not so much paper showing between the writing and the book page. Get these little scrappies out. Again, I'm going to glue that down. Just like that. And again, trim around it. Yeah, 1920s. I just got, it's like I knew something was going to happen with the 1920s because when I took my hubby to the eye doctor and made my little visit to the antique store while he was in there, I actually picked up a photo album that had some pictures in it from the 1920s. And it's got some really cool photographs in it. They're pretty small, more like a snapshot kind of thing, but they're going to be perfect for this journal. So I can't wait to use those. All the women have on those little I don't know what kind of hats you call them off the top of my head, but those little, you know, you all probably know what they're called. My mind is just going blank at the moment. And then I have some leftover ephemera from a project I did quite a while back it's digital. It's a digital that I think I got from the Digital Collage Club, but they're little bingo cards that show some 1920s fashion. So I've got those. So I've started digging out a few things. But, and of course, you know that's Art Nouveau. It's it Art Nouveau? Art Deco. I think 1920s is Art Deco, actually. And it's also the, you know, golden age after the war where everything was recuperating, and it was a big boom for a lot of inventions and music and silent films, jazz clubs, that kind of thing. So cars. So yeah, that's going to be fun. Alright, so now we're going to rough Mary up a little bit. That sounds bad, doesn't it? We're going to rough Mary up. We're going to put her on here. Uh-oh, don't stick. There we go. The other day I was making something, and the top page of my glue book was sticky, so I just flipped it over to the other side because it's just a book block, you know, that I had used the cover on something, and I just flipped it over instead of tearing the page off. Yeah, I glued the page to my glass mat. It stuck. I had to get it unstuck and get a baby wipe and get the paper stuck off my glass mat. Yeah, wasn't good. Okay, now I want to, the pen had some stamping that went over the top of the photo to kind of tie the photo in with the rest of the tags. So I want to come in with this little script stamp here, and take some black archival ink and just do a little bit of stamping to kind of push the picture back just a little bit and kind of tie the two together so that we've got some script in the front and some script in the back. I just don't want it to be upside down. Kind of like that. And I think I'll put a little bit at the top as well. Okay, now we're going to do our lace pieces, and for that I'm going to use Fabri-Tac, even though it's against my better judgment because I'll have it all over me. Don't get me wrong, Fabri-Tac is a great glue. It really is. It's just so sticky, and I hate to get it all over me. But I wouldn't use anything else for fabric. Okay, so let's get this out of the way. Should I poke the hole? I might poke the hole and get my grommet in there first. My hole's plugged up. Get out of there. It's one fussy bit I don't like about the crocodile stuff getting stuck in that hole. Do I want it that low? No, I think I want it about right there. Good. Alright, so now let's put a grommet in there. And I'm using gold because of the colors in the kit. Oh, and I forgot that these grommets that I got, which I do like, by the way. They smush very well. But the hole that the crocodile makes is just a little... I say they smush very well, and then that one didn't smush. Make a liar out of me. There we go. I just didn't push it hard enough. Alright, so now that I can see that, we're going to put just these little scrappy bits of lace on here. Go away, string. That string I don't want. Alright, and then I want this here, I think. Alright, so let's get this started. Let's get this party started with the Fabri-Tac. I'm going to turn that this way. So, I think what you want to look for this piece is little pieces of lace and maybe a doily or something that has flower shapes. Like this is the center out of a doily that looks like a flower. And then this is one of the pieces that was going around it, and I just kept it and thought I'd stick it on there. Two. And then this lace has kind of a flower pattern in it. So we're going to put that over there, and that's going to tie into this other piece that I have cut out that I'll show you in just a second. Because I thought this hole in the middle was too big and just kind of distracted. So I cut this piece out that looks like a flower. And I'm going to kind of layer my flower up like that. And then I have this piece of lace. Which side? That I'm going to put in the very center. And it's just one of the flowers cut off. I'm just going to smush that down in there. Go away, glue string. Just like that. Now, for my little dried piece here, I think I just want it to kind of stick out the side right there. So I'm just going to cut off just the top part. One, because I'm greedy. And I don't want to use it all. And two, because I don't think we need the whole thing. So then I'm going to put some Fabri-Tac on the back of that. If I can get it on here. And just kind of stick it like that. Do we need a little piece on the other side? Probably. Yeah, I don't know what they used, but this is really, I mean, it's stiff. Like, they definitely used something on it. But it still looks natural, you know what I mean? Maybe they use starch. That could be a possibility. But it almost looks like it has like a glittery look to it as well. And I wish this flower, let me see if I can get some little bit of color. I wish it had a little bit of color right on the edge. I don't know if I can. To make the petals on that middle section stand out a little bit. Maybe I could squish some of this down and then use my water pen. I don't want it to do too much, and of course that's going to go on a lot darker than what it'll actually end up being when it dries. But I just want to bring that little flower out a little bit. And then I think I'll put some in the middle of that one. I could use a little more, actually. Yeah, I like that better. Okay, and then the last thing I'm going to do is I need to flip it over and ink around here. Now, I could cover this whole thing with you know, tea dyed paper or something like that, but I'm really not too worried about it. At this point, if I decide when I go to put it in the journal that I need it as a writing place, then I'll do that. But at this point, I don't know if it's going to be glued down or if it's going to be, and you can see it's picking up the grunge that it picked up from my mat. You could stamp it, you could stencil it, you know, but like I said, at this point, I'm not going to worry about it. And then I'm going to put my little sari silk through here. And I might put a piece of string tied around it as well, because I'm thinking about the string that you would use to bundle up your flowers for drying. So do I want to do it like that, or I think what I'll do, because I don't like it being over that tip like that, I may do it like this. Get to there one end. Yeah, I like that better. And then take a piece of string and tie a bow. If I can reach my string. I'm about out. I'm gonna cry when I run out of the string. Alright, let me wipe this ink up before I end up putting something like my hand in it. Get this out of the way. Put my top on my glue. Top on my ink. Alright, now, what I'm thinking is tying this around. Let me turn it upside down. I'm left-handed, so to make a nice bow that is facing the right way, I have to tie them upside down. Otherwise, it's upside down. Okay. And I might end up adding another dried flower or something up there. Like I said, once I determine where it's going to be in the journal, I'll be able to decide all the little final finishing touches. It's a little bit crooked. I can always put a little dab of glue to hold it straight. But there you go. There's my make. I think that's pretty darn cute. So yeah, if you have a bigger die, or if you have that little scallop die like it's in the original, then you can use that. But if you don't, there are other options out there that you can use to make it work just as well. So, and I think this little kind of tealish blue color is going to go well with the kit. You can see the kit, a lot of it is fairly neutral, and even the colors that are on it are very muted. They're not bright colors, and I like that. So yeah, that goes well there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to finding a home for it and making a pocket, or whatever I decide to make for it to go in. Let's see what else we have. Even if I decided to use it on this black and beige, see, that blue is the pop of color that a page like this would need, just to give it a pop of color. So yeah, that looks lovely. Oh, it looks beautiful there, doesn't it? That may be where I have to use it, is wherever that page ends up. I really like that. Thanks, guys, for joining me, and I hope you'll stick with me this month and see my 2 projects. I do have the Gentleman's Journal finished, and I'll be doing a flip through of that tomorrow and post it. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. It's football time, so I'm going to go watch some college games with the hubby, have a roast in the oven for dinner. So we're pretty much set for some football watching and just chilling. So I hope you guys do the same, and I will see you back tomorrow for the flip through. Until then, take care. Bye.